Welcome to Who Runs the Commonwealth, where we compare and discuss the three teams in the great state of Virginia: Virginia Tech, JMU, and UVA. Zach Kinney is our UVA analyst, Luke Howard, Virginia Tech analyst, and I will be taking JMU. All three super fans, I'll say. Last weekend, me and Luke went to the JMU game against Weaver State, and that was a great time.
It was a blowout for sure.
Solid game, solid game. Yeah, so Zach, you guys also you want to take us into week one with UVA? Kind of go over how week one went for all three teams.
Yeah. I'll start with UVA. Yeah, I usually go to every game, but I was out of town, wasn't able to catch the opener, but was able to watch the whole thing and digest a lot of it from a bar. So I wasn't up close and personal like normal, but no, it was an outstanding performance, like completely beyond any of my expectations. Like I knew we'd be like a lot of like the line was only 12 and a half, which I thought was like criminal because we were a much worse team last year. Coastal was a better team last year. We were on the road and won by 19. So I'm like, how in the hell could we win by anything less than that this year at home with a much better team? And then Coastal seemingly much worse, bringing in a bunch of new coordinators and players all around. So yeah, so we won 48 to 7 in very convincing fashion. New starting quarterback Chandler Morris was playing up to his potential and what we were hoping for. The team was kind of slow to start. It took about 4 drives for the team to get going offensively. I think everybody was just trying to gel, get all the new players acclimated, especially Chandler Morris. But once they got going, it was a wrap. And then Cam Ross, the transfer from JMU, he's the big highlight, big star. He won ACC Offensive Player of the Week. He had over 100 yards receiving, receiving touchdown, and a kickoff return for a touchdown, all in the first game. Like we couldn't have asked for much more. And so he's looking like he could be a top ACC player this year and kind of scratching my head why JMU didn't utilize him more last year. Looking at his numbers, like he looks like he's going to be one of the top players in the country. So super hyped about that. The defense played outstanding. Only gave up one score in garbage time with our second and third string guys in. So, yeah, I expected to win. I forget exactly what my score was in the last pot. I think I said something like 38-17. So I thought we'd win by about 21, 3 scores. But to win by 41 against an FBS opponent in week one was really impressive in my eyes. So, yeah, really excited now. Expectations are raised a little bit going into week two against NC State.
Yeah, I agree. I had UVA being very good this year if you followed them on the offseason, which I'm sure maybe not. So that's kind of why they just kind of put them in that maybe worse than last year bucket or about the same as last year bucket. But if you see last year's or week one ACC rankings, UVA was picked to finish 13th, and then they moved up in the power rankings to number nine. And then they leapfrogged Virginia Tech, who stayed at 11. I'm not sure how. Well, we'll talk about Virginia Tech in a minute, but yeah, Cam Ross, disappointing for me to see him do well because he just wasn't really getting a lot of target share at JMU. So I think they were talking about not getting open, had probably the most drops on the team, I think with like six last year. So yeah, in recent JMU news, it's more of like the topic is kind of like see what he did at Virginia. Maybe the offense isn't great, like towards receivers. You know what I mean? Because the break for JMU, I'll just roll into JMU if that's okay. Because the JMU running backs are the star of the team, basically. You know what I mean? So they're the focal point of the team and supposedly the offense. Matt Sluka comes back from Holy Cross and UNLV to JMU to join up with his old coach in similar style offense where they're running a lot of the quarterback powers, a lot of zone reads, which they had brought with them last year. So yeah, over 310 yards, 313 total rushing yards from the team. Had two running backs right at 100 yards rushing. Yeah, it was crazy. Everybody was running all over the field, which I guess is the expectation with Weber State. A little low on the passing yards, 145 between two quarters, whereas they also had 50 running yards, rushing yards each. So the offense looked very good, being able to kind of run at will, which didn't really lead up to a lot of passing, I think, is my takeaway, right? Because why pass it if you're just running it? You know what I mean? The same kind of effect. They had four touchdowns in their first 4 drives, 28-0. Yeah, it was never in doubt. They did score. I think three were from a fake punt that they kind of allowed the punter to like, hey, if you want to fake it, go ahead. I think they gave him the green light to basically fake it if he thought it was there. 4th and 10,
Hmm.
the guy runs for 7 yards. So, yeah, not great. But overall, I think good starting week one, just like UVA. I think just pulling it all together a little bit as we get 50 plus new transfers with 50 returning players. So a little bit more stable from previous year, but still some finding out what they're doing. But the biggest news, I think, from the JMU side would be Alonzo Barnett did make the start. So sorry, allegedly, there's no hard facts on what his injury was last year, but last play of the game last year, allegedly tore his ACL. Could have been something different, could have maybe like partial tear kind of thing. I'm not a doctor. That's actually what the coach said when they kept asking about it. I'm not a doctor, I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, so he ran for a touchdown, 20 yards, looked just like he did last year, which is a good sign for JMU fans because the guy was very good last year, especially on the rushing side.
And I definitely think that y'all have a
Luke,
dog
you want
in
to
that.
jump into?
And I definitely think y'all have a dog in that true freshman that started Saturday. He definitely showed out very well and played like a sophomore or junior wide receiver. He was a stud. Definitely fun to watch. But
Mikey
as
Scott.
for as
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, he was good. But as far as Tech goes, I feel like they did very well in the defensive side of things. They kept it close in the first three quarters. I believe it was 7-11 through the third, and then they just kind of gave up. But the real big issue I feel like they're having is that Kyron Jones can't get the ball in the end zone. And I feel like him being a fifth year senior, that they either need to go with sit him out and try Pop Watson, see what Pop can do. So I feel like that's very sad in that aspect. But I feel like our wide receivers were very stout. I feel like our defense did a lot better than it has in past years. So I'm really looking forward to our defensive coordinator moving forward. But offensively, we really got to figure out how to get the ball in the end zone. And I feel like that was really a sad point because we got so close so many times, but they just couldn't finish.
Yeah, with Virginia Tech, yeah, they lost 24-11, but the game was a lot closer than I anticipated. Like I predicted last week, Tech would keep it close, and I thought the first half went about exactly how I thought it'd go. But I thought South Carolina would kind of dominate and press their foot on the gas in the second half, and that didn't really happen until the Beamer ball against Virginia Tech for the punt return for a touchdown. Like that was kind of just like the game breaker. But other than that, I think Virginia Tech just straight up impressed the fuck out of me. Just like was saying, defense, Tech's defensive line was just reminding me of the mid 2000s, early 2000s, how they would just dominate guys up front. And this is an SEC offensive line we're talking about. And so I know South Carolina is pretty young on the offensive front, but still, there's the SEC recruits and Tech's D tackles were just blowing dudes up, even one on twos. Like it was crazy to see. South Carolina wasn't really able to run the ball that well. The only time South Carolina really got anything going was with either Sellers with his legs or the deep ball. If Tech can just keep those big plays, the deep ball and the punt return for a touchdown, and find some red zone offense success and stop shooting themselves in the foot, which I know a lot of Tech fans are pissed about. Those things continuing to happen under Pry. I mean, they could have very well have beaten South Carolina Saturday. So I was definitely impressed with them. But yeah, they have a lot to clean up, and I think maybe stick with Jones a little bit longer. I mean, he's like you said, fifth year senior. He's been there. Maybe he's just got to get some kinks out here early on, and he'll get going. But I've only seen Pop play once, and he just tore up UVA's bad defense. So I don't know much to take from that, but I know he's certainly talented. But I think next week, and we'll get into that in a second for next week, but the way Drones plays against Vanderbilt will be very telling for how he performs the rest of the year.
Very true. I feel like it's almost kind of like the Braxton Miller kind of situation at Ohio State. You had the backup quarterback that was way better, and once they moved Braxton to a wide receiver, something of that nature could happen. I really
Hmm.
feel like with all the research that's been done on Pop Watson, he's from a 6A high school in Ohio. one of the top ranked national teams in the country. He was a 4.5 star quarterback. I just feel like at this point, Kyron's not going to make it to the NFL with the way that he's played the past couple years, not being able to finish games. I feel like we should just try it out for a game. Or if he's not able to produce halfway through the first half, then we should try switching it up and see what Pop can do on the offensive side to get the ball in the end zone. Because I feel like we have wide receivers. I mean, that catch against South Carolina, Aiden Green had on the sidelines was insane. I think
He's
he was at
sick. Yeah,
the
he's
40.
dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. We just got to get someone that can actually get him the ball consecutively. And I
Yeah.
feel like there was a lot of issues with the offensive line as well, giving too much pressure on Kyron, which I felt like was an issue. But like you said, those are some kinks that hopefully they can figure out against Vanderbilt next week.
Yeah, the Virginia Tech game, I think I didn't watch the game, of course, but two interceptions thrown from drones. What else do you need? Zero touchdowns, two interceptions. Virginia Tech led in passing yards. They matched them in rushing yards, had three more first downs. Third down efficiency was better, had more total plays, everything. And they 10 more minutes on time of possession. I don't, I'm not sure what the solution is. I think if I was Brett Pry and I really thought Pop Watson was the answer, or like even a little bit better than Kyron Drones, I think I'd be starting him. I don't know if the solution is Watson, but I think it might be just a little bit more of the new offensive coordinator kind of thing, maybe. I don't
But
know.
you could
If I could fix Virginia Tech, they'd hire me. So.
But you could say the same thing a couple years ago when we had Hendon Hooker and that other quarterback, and they wouldn't start Hendon Hooker, so he left to go to Tennessee because they were running a two quarterback system where they kept flip flopping. And then Hooker got tired of it and then left his senior year to go play at Tennessee, and then became a Heisman in the Heisman race. So at that point, it's like, what is the solution? Nobody knows for sure, but I feel like we definitely need to try a different quarterback out. I really feel like Pop Watson is the answer in this scenario, but only time will tell, you know.
You're right. I think let's actually, you just guys want to just go ahead and go to week two previews and then just jump back into Virginia Tech
Yeah.
because I was thinking, yeah, maybe you get drones one more game against maybe it was South Carolina's defense. Maybe that was the thing to hold him back that week. And he's back to his old self against Vanderbilt and they win that game. But maybe he's struggling. Maybe you put him Pop at halftime or something. But Pop, he's a redshirt freshman, right? Is that right? I have to look it
Um,
up, but yeah, I think it might be just a little bit early for to be worried about him getting like frustrated. But you want to go ahead and do week two against Vanderbilt, Luke?
yeah, I feel like that's going to be a close one. They destroyed us last year, so I would definitely say,
They
I don't
didn't
know, they
destroy
got
you
that
last year. That was a great game. They went to OT. You are winning for most of the game. It was back and forth.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew Luke destroying when they should have beat Vanderbilt
He
and
meant
going to OT
emotionally they
with
were destroyed.
Vanderbilt
I
is
get
kind of
it.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like emotional destroy. Yeah, for sure. I knew exactly what he meant when he said
I figured that's what he
it.
meant too. Yeah, no, I was just clarifying.
Yeah, but I feel like they got that really crazy quarterback. I feel like it'll be a close one. I feel like it can go either way, but I think it's a +7.5 game, -7.5, either way. But I think more than likely Vanderbilt pulls it out for sure.
Yeah, I see Tech's favored by 1.5. I think that's pretty fair. It's basically like a pick 'em game. Like whoever's the home team is going to win it. And I'd agree with that. I think Tech's going to be pretty hungry. I saw they had like a players meeting. Like we're not happy with the performance last week in South Carolina. A players only meeting that is. And so I know they're gonna be fired up. They're hungry. Brent Pry knows he's already under a lot of heat to start the year, especially after all the mistakes last week. So I think with that, and then obviously the home field advantage, Lane City at night, it would be almost impossible for me to pick Vanderbilt unless their quarterback just goes off and they're able to get the ball out quickly to not let Tech's defensive line be a factor. But I just don't see that happening. I think it'll be low scoring though. I think last year in OT, the final was like 30-27, I believe. And this year, I think it'll be like a 24-21 Tech win. I just don't see Vanderbilt's offense being able to do much with Tech's defensive line. I do think Kyron Drones will come out with a little pep in his step and limit the turnovers and do just enough to win the game.
Yeah, and then the home opener is sold out for I think the fifth consecutive home opener sold out for Virginia Tech, which is crazy. But I mean, good for them because maybe there's just not like a ton to do in Blacksburg. Maybe that's what it is. Come on, I thought you'd like.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, but I mean, good for them. 60,000 seats. That makes running a football team pretty easy. Yeah,
Well, if
Vanderbilt,
they sell,
they South.
well,
Good.
I was just gonna say if they sell, I was just gonna say if they sell out one time, it pays for their entire season. So that's how much they make off of. If they sell out one time, it pays for their entire season.
Yeah, and they always
Just-
have pretty good attendance from what I understand. But
Oh yeah.
Vanderbilt played Charleston South last year or last week, excuse me, and beat them 45-3. So I think to me it answers a little bit. Charleston South not obviously is not a great team, but it seemed like Vanderbilt had a cap on their scoring last year, and it was basically however much Diego Pavia could run around. But I think it just shows a little bit more signs of recruiting or getting some people in the transfer portal, whereas they're going to be a little bit more of a complete team than last year. So I think they'll be more improved than last year. But I have to agree with Zach. I think it depends on Tech's D line. So if they can contain Pavia, unlike they did last year, then it'll be a much different game. And I don't think it'll be much of a contest, assuming Virginia Tech assuming Kyron Drones will come to play. I mean, I'm assuming he will. Virginia Tech also made a big to do about some Clater Lake bonding up in Blacksburg over the summer. They had a big team bonding, no
No phones
phones.
allowed.
But and yeah, it didn't make much of a difference. So I'm gonna say team meeting, players only doesn't make much difference. I'm gonna stick with my original score or my original season prediction and have Vanderbilt win. Yeah, I mean, I understand Virginia Tech is a different atmosphere than some places, but Vanderbilt played at Tennessee. I mean, they played at Alabama last year, right?
No, that was home when they beat
And beat
them.
Alabama, so they were at home.
They did beat a
Well, I
couple
don't know.
SEC teams on the road last year, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but they're not unaccustomed to big, loud stadiums.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it makes like all the difference, right? All right, Gak, you want to go ahead and hit us on UVA?
Yeah, so we have a really tough contest in Raleigh at NC State. It's not an ACC game. We had to schedule a last second non-conference game, and we decided with NC State, which I'm not happy with. It's kind of weird playing an ACC team that's not going to count as an ACC game. But whatever. I guess we wanted a little bit of tough competition early on to set us right for ACC play later in the year. But yeah, so NC State's 2.5 point favorites. They sweated out a win last week at home against ECU. I was able to watch that whole game. NC State got off to a big lead, was dominant in the first half, and then just slowly let ECU back into it due to stupid mistakes, a couple ill-advised sacks, some turnovers. So they won 24-17. ECU had a chance with 20 seconds left, 4th and 1 from the 10-yard line to get a tying score, and then a bad play call. They got stopped. So ECU was there at the end, but if you watch the game, NC State definitely seemed like the much better team, and I think if they played them again, they'd beat them by a lot. That's all to say. I think NC State definitely impressed me just due to their defensive line that looks legit. It looks pretty scary. They have a lot of talent at receiver, and their quarterback, CJ Bailey, is continuing his momentum from last season. And so I think this is going to be a really tough game for Virginia. I think if we had them at home, this was a home game, I'd probably lean towards us. But I think I'm going to have to give NC State the nod. Definitely think it's going to be a one-score game. I like that 2.5 point spread. But I think, you know, Chandler Morris at quarterback last week, he played great, but in the first half, he did get off to a little bit of a slow start. His decisions kind of scared me a little bit early on. He does have that gunslinger mentality. So if just one turnover in this game can cost us. And then he also hurt his shoulder in the third quarter, and he had to come out. So he's dealing with a sore AC joint. I don't know exactly how much that's going to affect him. And if anything, I think we're going to tell him not to run as much, which kind of sucks because he's very good at it. I think we'll be able to put up some points, and I think our defense will be able to limit the big plays. But I definitely worry about NC State's running game and offensive line against our defensive line, and then vice versa. I don't think there's any way in hell we're going to be able to run the ball on them. I think our biggest chance to put up points is through the air with Cam Ross, Trell Harris, and just try and get guys open in space. But due to us not being able to run the ball on the road, I don't think we can win the game. So I do think it's going to be really tight. I'm going to go NC State walk-off field goal 30-28.
A good prediction. NC State's a good team. Y'all are up on the up and up. You won the first game. I'd say that's good. I would put them at I say NC State's gonna win by 10. I know you're kind of close with the 3 point, but I think with it being an on-road game, I think it's gonna be by 10. NC State.
I'm pretty surprised by both of those picks with NC State winning. I was having UVA win. I it was actually well, I thought Zach would kind of take it, but for my pick of the week, bet pick of the week, I was thinking UVA cover that. I think they beat NC State. Just,
Nice.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Two points, which is again like a toss-up game. They give 2 points to the home team. It's the definition of a toss-up game. But I think what they did against Coastal Carolina, I was not aware of the quarterback kind of injury a little bit. I think the slow start kind of comes from just week one kind of stuff that you see any team do. How serious is that, Zach? Is that like
We
is he
thought
gonna
it was,
play?
yeah, we thought it was bad when it first happened. He immediately went to street clothes, left the locker room. And then on Monday's practice, Coach Elliott said that he's just a little sore, but he's definitely full go to play. And he's been practicing all week. So he's definitely a full go. But he's just a smaller guy and he gets a couple big hits. He's pretty much down for the count. So that's just what's concerning to me when we go up against big D linemen.
What's his height?
I think he's listed as like 6 foot, 6 foot and a half. He's probably like 200 pounds. He's slim. He's,
Okay.
yeah.
It's not bad though. 6 foot 200. That's not too
It's
bad.
not bad. He just has a really bad injury history, which was worries us because he was like a five-star guy from Texas. He went to
Oh,
TCU.
really?
Yeah, and that he was the starting quarterback at TCU. Going into the year, they went to the national championship game, but he got hurt in the third game. Came back the next year, got hurt in the third game again. Then he transferred to North Texas last year, was finally healthy for a full season. And then first game with us this year, he goes down. So like we're all holding our breath basically anytime he's running.
So more of a matter of time than anything else,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
right? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry. I mean, we're in the same boat, you know. Quarterback's made of glass, so
But no, yeah, stick
um
stick with the pick. UVA upset.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Virginia. I was thinking Virginia Tech would, or I'm sorry, Virginia would win by a touchdown. I think it would. I was thinking it was going to be pretty close. I did hear about it was a non-conference ACC game, basically. My friend at work, he went to NC State, recent graduate, so I think he's actually going to go to the game at NC State. You know, he's not very confident on it either. ECU is not good this year, or wasn't supposed to be good this year.
They're
So,
not good at all.
but ECU, yeah, right. Okay, there you go. I don't sugarcoat it, but yeah, but again, and then in kind of the same boat as East or Coastal Carolina, which Virginia put up plus 40 on them. So, but then again, you talked about ECU kind of gritting back into it later in the game, which is kind of like their calling card, I think, is just kind of like gritting it out and just kind of like pulling some upsets. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think UVA wins.
Good pick.
Yeah, I said by seven. I don't know if you want to, I'll say 21 to 20 to 13, whatever. It's in the 20s and the teens. It's going to be, I think it'll be low scoring because of the NC State defense. All right. JMU, they got Louisville this week. Friday night game. They moved it to Friday night because of the Bourbon Festival on Saturday. So not much attendance, I would assume, on that day. Big national event, but I mean, I don't want to pick JMU to lose this game, but they very well might, or they probably should. I'll say that. Louisville did give up 17 points to Eastern Kentucky, I guess. Eastern Kentucky. And I think that says a little bit more about their defense. Miller Moss, their transfer quarterback, had 2 interceptions. JMU last week had 3 interceptions against FCS opponent, but they also did have multiple sacks. I'll just say multiple sacks against the FCS team. JMU did not have any. I can explain why, but in the light of week 2 preview. We'll keep it going. They have a insane running back, Isaac Brown, 6 carries for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they gave him the ball 6 times, scored twice, and lapped the field. So insane. They got a couple really good running backs, receivers. Got a couple really good receivers. We got Chris Bell, 5 receptions, 63 yards. Just a lot of talent in the skills area of the field. Maybe there could be, the secrets to winning this game is takeaways and just offensive consistency. It'll definitely have to be a shootout. I'm not saying JMU doesn't have a great, I would say a better defense than their offense, especially early in the year. With the Coach Hitchler coming from Alabama last year, being their defensive coordinator, I think they'll have a very good defense. But I'm just not sure about the whole two quarterback system. They got Matt Sluka coming in every couple plays, but we'll see how that changes depending on the opponent they play. Maybe it was just because Barnett's coming off an ACL and just playing an FCS team, so why risk it? Yeah, I don't want to pick Louisville to win, but I will pick them to. I'll pick them to win by 3. I think it's a 13.5 spread, or it was when I last looked. But yeah, I think it'll be much closer than people think. And I do think JMU does have the possibility of winning it. But if you're talking betting lines, I think Louisville's got it.
All right. Yeah, I agree with some of those thoughts. I do think, well, I'm looking at it now, the line is 12 and a half. I think that's fair. And then obviously, unfortunately, JMU is not like the underdog they used to be. Like they got the recognition they deserve by blowing out Carolina last year at their place. And they've kind of become like a brand name now. Like that's a big deal just putting their mascot in college football 26. Twitter freaked out over that. Like it's just funny that like JMU is now like commodity name known as like a little dog that you don't mess with. So I, because of that, I do think Louisville is going to be more than prepared, and it's not going to be like some sneaking up on somebody type deal for anybody going forward playing JMU from the ACC or something. And also, it's unfortunate. I wish JMU was playing another ACC team that, like a Syracuse or a Pittsburgh or somebody that I think they would beat. I just think Louisville is way too talented. I think they weren't didn't have the best performance week 1, but I think they'll play much better week 2. And I don't want to pick Louisville to win either, but I definitely do think they're a much better team. And I don't know, I'm still not sold. Like the way last year ended with JMU, and then I don't know, I didn't get to really speak on JMU from week 1, but JMU I know, not under Chesney, would have beaten that Weber State team probably by a lot more than they did. That was kind of concerning. I don't know. I'm not sold on Chesney yet. This might be the year. And if he can pull out an upset against Louisville, that would obviously go a huge way to maybe changing my mind. I do think JMU this year and last year is maybe not as up to par as they were the years prior to that in terms of just a dominant level. I feel like they peaked at Carolina last year, and I don't want to see that happen again. I hope to be proven wrong. All to say, I think it's going to be similar to my prediction with the South Carolina Virginia Tech game last week. I think first half's going to be very competitive. I could go back and forth a little bit for the first and second quarter. So I think halftime is something like 21-20. JMU's right there, but then I think in the second half, Louisville just pulls away. And then again, you're still working back Barnett. I don't think he's going to be just on point on the first snap. I don't want Sluka coming in there that much. And then Petaway at running back, he's the difference maker to me. If they can get him the ball in space as a receiver, I think he has the most speed and has the best chance to compete with some of those Louisville linebackers just from a schematic standpoint. But I just don't see JMU being able to keep up in the second half. So I'm going to take Louisville 42-28 by 14.
Yeah, I'm kind of feel I like that prediction. I like Louisville winning by at least 2, but I hate going with that prediction because I like JMU a lot. I just don't feel like they have the depth that Louisville has. I don't feel like they have the deep pockets Louisville has. And with the NIL deals and everything going on right now, I feel like that's changed a lot of the landscape of college football. And I feel like it's a lot different guessing game now because it's all about who's got the most pocket, who's got the most money. I do feel like Louisville will win by at least 2 touchdowns or more. And I don't even know if I see it being competitive. It's going to be a tough game. But in the aspect, if JMU is able to make takeaways early, and can kind of take the breath away from them with interceptions, maybe a couple forced fumbles. I feel like they definitely could win, but it's definitely going to lead to that's the only way that they're going to be able to win that game is through turnovers and capitalizing on turnovers.
Your pick surprises me, Luke, because you were at the UNC game last year, but that's all right. Y'all keep
UN,
down.
but UNC still at that point wasn't a good team, and everybody knew it.
Yeah,
They were
that JMU is so much better. That's not one of those things where like JMU just upset a team. Like if JMU played that Carolina team 10 times, they'd win nine. Like just
100.
like
Yeah.
Louisville is
No,
just a
I agree.
lot better than that Carolina team.
No, yeah,
I think that's the only difference.
No, and I like honestly what I've
yeah.
seen from James. I'm impressed. I like them, but I feel like that what Austin was saying earlier, that two quarterback system is going to mess them up because even Tech try. I mean, if you remember, Tech a couple years ago was running that two quarterback system, and it just didn't work. You could win a couple games, but at the end of the day, the two quarterback system it never works out. So I feel like they're gonna have to figure out something, and I hope that they don't continue to run the two quarterback system, like you said.
Yep, yep. That's why you play the game, right? So we got that's week two preview to a close. We got so anything else you guys want to talk about, like general state of college football? I just kind of wanted to bring up the chances to make the playoff this year, according to ESPN FPI. Virginia Tech with a 5.2% chance right now, UVA 3.2% chance, and JMU with a 2.3% chance. So with no touchdown, with no passing touchdowns, I was just a little surprised with the 5.2% chance and the loss to South Carolina.
Well, it's just what the FP.
I guess it.
Yeah, it's just using like data. It's not really looking at like game by game schedule. Like I mean, it is, but it's also using statistics from each game of week one, and it kind of just combines it all into one. Because like my personal opinion is AMU has a much better chance just given their schedule straight up, whereas I think Virginia Tech and UVA both have 0% chance because there's no way either team is going undefeated. I mean, that's already impossible for Virginia Tech. But even if Virginia Tech went 11-1, they'd probably still make the ACC championship game because I think Miami might slip up somewhere, Florida State, Clemson might. I would still give them the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think there's any way they could beat a Clemson. So yeah, JMU, in my opinion, would have a much better chance from like that's why I think like the 5 versus 3 versus 2 is kind of null, not really valid. Like
I
JMU
don't know.
straight up has an easier chance to go just because they have an easier if they win 11-1, their only loss is to Louisville, they win their conference championship game, then they're fighting for one of those last two spots with another a smaller conference team, and they could easily get the nod.
Yeah, sorry. I was bringing this up to kind of talk about how the strength of schedule, I think, is going to be playing a huge part in the overall playoff selections. You know what I mean? With Virginia Tech playing that ranked opponent, and still having like a higher chance in FPI to make the playoffs. I think that it just shows they're really like, you know what I mean? Like they were saying that they were going to take into consideration strength of schedule a lot
Mhm.
more. And then even with teams like Texas, people that lost in the same kind of boat with no offensive production, with a 70% chance to make the college football playoffs. I just wanted to kind of touch base with the college football playoff in general, just to kind of talk about that. But yeah, I definitely agree. I'd be blown away if Virginia Tech or UVA made the conference football playoff. I'm sorry, the college football playoff. But at the same time, UVA definitely, I think, has a leg up right now
Well, I'll say
in
this though,
conference.
just because like kind of backtracking on my point and solidifying your point. I mean, in theory, Virginia Tech does have, I mean, with Miami coming out of nowhere, kind of surprising people by the Notre Dame win, Florida State definitely coming out of nowhere,
I don't.
beating Bama. With if Virginia Tech was technically, they're not going to, but if they were to run the table, be 11-1 with wins over Miami, Florida State, and then theoretically Clemson ACC championship game, not only would they make the playoff, but they would be considered a top six team, seven team probably. So to your point of just about strength of schedule, like yeah, like Virginia Tech would totally be willing, and I don't mean to say they're lucky to have that schedule, but if Virginia Tech was legit and was a top 15, top 20 team with a chance in some of those games, not to say that they don't, I mean, I could totally see them beating Miami at home. If Miami's banged up, Virginia Tech's healthy, whatever. Conversation for another day. But to the point about strength of schedule, I kind of get why Virginia Tech does have the 5% just because they have the opportunity, whereas JMU probably doesn't. UVA has one of the worst schedules in FBS, so we would need help alongside going 11-1 or something like that.
All right, Luke, I'll let you go next, I swear. But just from that, so just like Tim, you had last year, and you kind of see, look, Ohio State had the really easy, like or Indiana, excuse me, easy conference schedule, and then they kind of get into the conference championship. I think that's the most or like the best path for a team like UVA or Tech to get into the college football playoff. You know what I mean? Like to kind of sneak into the championship game. I don't want to
You have to run
sneak,
the
but
table,
you
basically.
know, well, if you won your conference championship, that's an auto bid.
No, they got
So
rid of that,
like
I thought.
UVA, oh, did they?
I thought this was the first year. It's
No,
either,
no, no.
yeah, they got rid of auto bid. Or
No,
is that next year?
they changed the seating. So like the auto bids, they don't get like an automatic home game and that kind of stuff. Is what my thought was about it, or like how I
Yeah, I
took
could
it.
be wrong. Oh yeah, there's still auto
Okay, go ahead,
bids.
Luke.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. They seeded differently.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I feel like Miami, the way that they played against Notre Dame was incredible. I feel like they have a way better team than they did last year. And I know that's tough to say. I don't, maybe, I know Cam Ward is a great quarterback, won the Heisman. I mean, didn't win, but was a runner up or the Heisman. And it's just like the way that they played, they might be in the national championship against Michigan. I feel like that would be a good game preview, but
Michigan ain't making it.
I don't know. Bryce Underwood's crazy.
He's legit, but they concern me a lot in that opening game outside of him.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, yeah, you're right. Miami, they definitely impressed the shit out of me. I mean, every year, oh, they're back, they're back, they're back. But I do like their coach a lot, Mario Cristobal. Last year was disappointing, and they finally got the D line right. So their defense is going to be as bad. And then Carson Beck impressed the hell out of me. I thought he was kind of washed, but he looks like he still got it. And they got some talented freshman receivers too. So yeah, I could totally see them. They can run for it and challenging Clemson for the ACC title.
Yeah. Or,
Consistency with Miami.
another one. Yeah, that or FSU. FSU is another dark horse that's rising up.
So, well, give me credit because I called the upset last week. What for our upset pick of the week? I didn't have them winning outright, but I had them covering against Bama. I was shocked for them to
Yeah.
dominate as much as they did. But my only thing with Florida State, I don't think they have a chance of running the table just because their schedule is a lot more difficult than Miami's. They each play Florida, so that'll be big. Miami's already got past their toughest test, so is Florida State. But the rest of the ACC games, Florida State's is a little bit more tougher than Miami's. I don't know. If Florida
Mhm.
State goes like 9-3, that's when we get to the playoff talk of like, okay, if you're like 9-3, 10-2, and you compare your schedule, an ACC schedule, to a SEC or Big Ten schedule to a team that's 9-3 or 10-2,
Mhm.
that's when it gets really difficult of who you pick. And that's where I think a team like Florida State would not get the benefit of the doubt versus a Big Ten or SEC team.
Well, they play each other, so we'll
But
find out.
they
Florida
do have
State
the
and Miami.
Florida. Oh yeah, and obviously those two.
Um,
Yeah,
Ooh, that'll be good.
and then Florida State also plays UVA. Both of y'all play Florida State as well, so you'll find out.
Mhm.
I don't
Side note,
think I don't. I have to disagree with the Florida State. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna hold off any comments until we talk about week two. Anything else going on college football? I mean, Florida State beating Alabama is impressive, but I think anybody could have beat Alabama if you watched the game.
that was pretty
I mean,
bad.
they were just straight up missing tackles. Yeah, it was bad tackling, just like overall bad coaching, I think. I mean,
It's
I
just
don't
like
want to blame
Vanderbilt
coaching, but
beating
like they have,
them last year. It's like
yeah,
the
100
name
exactly.
associated
That's
as
what
soon
I'm
as Nick
saying.
Saban left. I mean, we didn't really realize it 'cause they still had Milrow, Ryan Williams, I think the receiver. Like they have like all these names and stuff, but the team just isn't the same. The culture isn't the same. So last year we thought it was just what's the phrase? Like we just thought it was like a bump in the road. Like they'll be fine this year, and then week one they get housed by a not a highly regarded Florida State team. So yeah, I think Bama's kind of just like down bad right now, and I don't see them getting up. So yeah, I think we look back at the end of the season and be like, yeah, that Bama win week one wasn't really all that, but we'll see.
Do you see Ryan
Us,
Williams or any of the other big Alabama names interested in getting transferred, like leaving to a different program at that point?
I mean,
Like the
yeah,
culture's not the same. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're not being able to produce and get wins, like why not go somewhere else?
I mean,
NFL requirement's still 3 years, right? Like you have to be a junior or do you have to be a senior?
It's definitely not senior. It's junior. Yeah, you can come out
Gotcha.
after three.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Ryan Williams
But I
would
think
still be on his
your
second
red shirt
year.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would have to stay in the or stay in college for another year. So I could see him transferring. He'll go to Tech. They'll bring out the bag.
No. No, no. He wouldn't. He'd probably get an LSU wide receiver core
Yeah.
for all of them are built.
Yeah, dude, comes to Tech,
That's game over.
comes to
Pop
Tech or
Watson.
JMU for that matter. He's not gonna have anybody to throw to
I
him.
was about to say.
Yeah, you
Got to go to
Pop Watson.
UVA for
Pop Watson.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you find out Pop Watson's actually the real deal, and I just hope it's not for another team like Hendon Hooker.
If you ask any Tech, if you ask any Tech fan, it's always the next. It's always the
It's
next
always
coach, the next quarterback.
the backup quarterback.
That's the
Yeah.
savior. The
Because the thing with Hendon Hooker was like I watched
the
him like a
backup
lot. Like
quarterback is always the answer.
Hooker was torched the 1 year we beat Tech in 2019. Hooker torched our defense. It was just a shootout with him and Bryce Perkins. Like Hooker wasn't the problem. Like Tech fans didn't want Hooker to go. Hooker wanted to go because he had spats with Fuente and didn't like the direction of the offense. It's different
Yeah,
with
because
Kyron Drones because Drones is just not performing up to his standard that he set for himself 2 years ago. So now it's up in the air. But I do have to trust the coaches in practice and the guys that see him every day going against Pop. They threw the bag at Kyron Drones, a bag that Virginia Tech, they don't have a lot of money to be throwing around, and they threw it at him. So I feel like they have a ton of confidence in him, and they see them battle every day. I just think there's no way they're going to bench Drones anytime soon.
and that's why we're gonna be 5-5 this year. That's why we're gonna be 5-7 this year
You got to call up
because of
Pry
that
then.
risk. I wish I could. I wish I had the connections. That'd
We'll
be
get him
nice,
on.
but
We'll get him on the pod.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying when Pop gets his chance, he's gonna go crazy. Like I've seen all of his highlights. I've seen everything. I've watched all of his high school highlights, his college highlights. Dude's an animal.
No, I like Pop.
He just needs to be let off the leash.
I don't want him to play. I'm going to be chanting for Drones.
I want
Yeah, for
Drones.
real.
Realistically, my problem with it is Drones doesn't have a chance at the NFL quarterback. He's not. He's gonna at best Canadian Football League. Okay, so at that point, why aren't you trying to play the backup who is to be your starter next year when Drones is gone? Give him a chance. Let him, especially in that SEC game when Drones wasn't performing through 2 interceptions. Why aren't you putting Pop in to see if he can bring some life into the offense? And that's what really frustrates me is that they're not even giving him a shot unless Drones is hurt, and then he throws for 300 yards against UVA. So it's just frustrating.
Hmm.
It could work as a two quarterback system. Anyway, let's keep it
Yeah.
moving. So we got UVA and JMU receiving votes in the top 25. I'm not sure how many votes UVA got. Maybe
We
you
got
know,
two.
Zach, but JMU got two. Gotcha. JMU got four going into week two, which will probably be zero if they lose to Louisville. But there'll be time to make it up for it. Any thoughts on that?
No, not
Too
really.
early to
I mean,
care.
not really. Like, we won't have a legit shot to be in the top 25 until, because if we beat NC State, then we have William Mary, Stanford, two games we'll be heavy favorites in. So if we're 4-0 going into the big Friday night game at Scott Stadium against Florida State, there's a chance they might rank us up just because it's on ESPN. ESPN would want the numbers, and having like a 25 ranked UVA team against number 12 Florida State will look cool. And then obviously if we beat Florida State, we're 5-0, then 100% we'll be in the top 25. But there's no real shot of us actually getting that close for at least 3 or 4 more weeks. And then JMU, I think if they beat Louisville, there's a good chance they could get up there if some teams lose in the 20s.
Yeah, I would say if JMU
Yeah, for sure.
definitely they're getting top 25 100% because there's going to be some upsets this week.
You don't
Always
want to,
are.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's always upsets.
you want to jump into our upset picks for the week?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So yeah, so last week I picked Florida State covering against Bama. This week I'm going to go with an outright upset. We got a big rivalry game in Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa's not ranked. Iowa State's ranked 16 and favored by 3.5. This is a game where I feel like every other year it's back and forth and like the underdog wins quite often. And I think Iowa's always a tough out. They have a quarterback transfer from North Dakota, I believe, who put up big numbers last year in the FCS. They're hype about him. So I think Iowa is going to pull off the upset against Iowa State. Yeah, that's my upset pick of the week.
Let me run through mine real quick because I
Yep.
my upset pick of the week last week was dead wrong. I picked Georgia Southern
Okay.
to money line Georgia Southern,
Mhm.
and they lost by like 20, I think. So my bad on that one. If anybody decided to pick my bet, but this week, unfortunately for Zach, my betting odds are going to keep going with. Well, I already talked about Virginia, NC State, so I'll take my other pick. I'll keep it in the G5 and go Liberty, Jackson State. Liberty's minus 6.5. I think Liberty's 1-1 after this week, and I think Jack State's 1-1.
Wait, so what's the pick?
Jacksonville State beating Liberty.
Oh, okay. Outright.
The spread is 6.5 towards
Gotcha.
Liberty. But yeah, I think that's a game. I think it's within a Conference USA. But yeah, I mean, 55. Well, the matchup predictor says Jack State's going to win. So
It's
interesting
funny
betting
when they
line.
do that. Yeah.
Maybe put your bets in early. But yeah, it's a pretty evenly matched game. I looked at Jack State's schedule last year, or week one, and last year's. I know it's kind of hard to go off last year, but they did play Ohio in. Yeah, so they lost to Ohio in the Cure Bowl, and then lost to UCF by 7. I think that says more about UCF than it does about Jack State. I think UCF is going to be a good team this year. All right, Luke, go ahead.
All right. I feel like my upset of the week 2 will be the Sooners to take down
Mm.
Michigan. And
Right,
I
you just
feel
had
like
him.
Oh no,
Yeah,
Oklahoma's favored
Michigan
by
in
five
them.
and a half. I was about to say.
Oklahoma's favor,
Yeah.
Michigan to win.
Big switch up. I like
It's a
it.
toss up. You
It's a
had
toss up.
Michigan in the national championship 10 minutes ago.
I know.
That's gonna
I
be a
know,
fun
but
game though. That's the primetime game Saturday night. I can't wait to see Bryce Underwood in his first road game.
he's crazy. He's a good
Yeah, I have
quarterback.
Bryce Underwood in my I have Bryce Underwood on my ultimate team in NCAA. So
Oh, that's
hopefully,
smart.
hope
I
it
gotta
plays
get
well.
him. I'm gonna go buy that card.
You don't have Dylan Raiola?
Who?
Nebraska's
Dylan,
quarterback,
You
Patrick
talking about?
Mahomes Jr.
yeah.
You talking about Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
Yes. You should get Pop Watson. That's who you
If
need.
they, if
You
dude,
gotta make his
I
card first.
also
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Can you get the chemistries with them? Like, can you use chemistries for JMU players? Like, because they're
dude,
on the same
that
team?
was my intention going in. Like I was like, oh, that's such a good idea, blah blah blah. But I think they took that away, which is crazy.
I thought it was like by conference or something.
All
Or
right,
No.
like,
let's close it off by hottest takes. One hot take about your team this year.
Kyron Jones
Anybody
sucks.
prepare for that?
Luke is ready. He's been ready.
Kyron Jones sucks, and Pop Watson needs to be the starting quarterback.
I like that one.
That's true. You've been preaching that hot take all day. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Go ahead, Zach. I know you got one cooking. See your
Uh,
face.
no, it's just hard. I've like four different ones in my mind. I would say I don't even know if it's a hot take at this point. Like UVA is already starting to get a little bit of recognition. Wait, what? Like, are we talking about like up to this point hot take or like what I think is going to be a hot take when you look back at the end of the season? Or does it even
Either
matter?
way,
Okay, okay.
either way, maybe just give a little explanation.
Okay, I'm not gonna outright say that Tony Elliott's gonna win ACC Coach of the Year because I could see like a team going 12 and 0 and they like have to give it to him, but I think he'll get votes. I'll just leave it at that. I think we're already on the way to surprising people, and week one was just the start, and he's gonna be deserving.
Like Luke said, money cures all, right?
Exactly.
Hot seat to the golden hand.
Hmm.
I'm taking this is gonna be crazy, but I think JMU beats Louisville, and we got game day coming. We got game day coming again. That's my hot take. I stole that from somebody else, so don't shoot the messenger.
Wait, I have to throw. I don't want to replace mine now. I didn't even think about that because UVA is one of four or five schools that game day hasn't come to, and every year they try to go to one of the schools. Like last year, I think was Syracuse they went to for the first time. Like they want to knock every school off the list. So they've been waiting for fucking 30 years for UVA to give them an opportunity, and we won't do it. But this year, if we're 4-0 going into that Florida State game, and Florida State, I looked at their schedule, they'll definitely still be undefeated. They don't play anybody. They'll be top, but right now they're 14. Let's just say they move up 2 spots to number 12 because they won't lose. If we're 4-0 going that game, I could see game day come in Charlottesville for the first time because they're begging to do it because that'll be a top 25 matchup.
That'd be sick.
Okay.
We should also do a podcast at each of our like at one at JMU, one at UVA, and one at Tech. Like I just feel like that'd be cool, like showing the atmosphere and everything of each of the schools.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be down for that. This is the longest I'm going without going to a game. It's like I've been
Yeah.
so busy this week or this year so far. But I'm going in 3 weeks will be my first game.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to Lane Stadium. I haven't been there since I was like in high school. So, all
Since
right,
you went on
guys.
a visit as a
Any
linebacker.
yeah, right.
I was gonna
They
say,
didn't want
yeah,
me. My name wasn't Pop.
but no, the free parking from Snyder's and Associates.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Cut that out! Cut it out! Can't be giving out free advertising. That's crazy. No, yeah, that was nice. And there's still well, we don't have a ticket, but Zach, you can definitely come to a homecoming game. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
get the
cool
old
to
tailgate going.
Yeah, I'll look into that, see what we got going on that weekend with our schedule.
yeah. Because then we can schedule something for yours for Virginia for us all to go, like a big game, like maybe potentially the FSU game. If you were to down Austin, we can get those times off and we get the FSU game tailgate it, and then do a podcast. Then the homecoming game for JMU, and we can figure out a game for Tech. Just intervine, like trade off those three. That way we could do a podcast in it, show the atmosphere. I just feel like that would be really cool in
Yeah,
the
that'd be
podcast.
awesome.
Yeah, we'll figure out when we're not recording. Let's wrap it
Yeah.
up here. We'll have another episode next week where we are going over week 2 and going through week 3 on a hopefully great weekend, college football weekend for all 3 teams. I'll take a UVA Virginia Tech win if I can get a JMU win this weekend. That's for sure.
Hey, it'll be a hell of a weekend if all three of us win.
Yeah, it'd be a good
Yeah,
weekend.
that'd be great.